Hey, what's going on, everybody? Andrue2 here, and I wanted to bring you another video today. We are talking about the Forge Guard, and we're talking about the minion build for the Forge Guard. The whole point of this entire build is to maximize the amount of damage that our forged weapons can produce. I've gotten this all the way up to 300 corruption, as you can see up here. And I've done quite a few of echoes in the meantime. Now, there are a couple of things that you will need to pay attention to when you are playing this build. There's a couple of uniques as well that are almost mandatory for this build. But just kind of want to go over a little bit of the things that we are going to be talking about later on. So we'll do a little gameplay here to show you kind of how everything's done. Now, at the very start, I do recommend going at the very start here and just warpathing. That way your minions will get spawned. You can definitely go in if you'd like to, rush headlong into the fray. The only issue with this is that if your minions die, it will take quite a while for you to actually get the minions up again, because all of the enemies will be attacking that minion. So just keep that in mind going forward when you're actually trying to get a lot of damage out from your minions, and it's not causing, maybe an issue with not dealing enough damage because, you don't have enough minions. So I like to start off with getting about 12 minions at the very start, and then kind of pushing through here. Obviously, you can see we do have Volatile reversal, so if you don't enjoy doing that, you're welcome to use, Sigil of Hope or something like that. But I do recommend using Void Cleave and Healing Hands, and we will get into the reasons why we enjoy using that. But yeah, as you can see, very tanky, using a two-handed weapon. So I don't necessarily have to worry too much about enemies dealing so much damage to me and not being able to, take... I can take a couple hits is what I'm trying to say here. So, yeah, we're supposed to locate this thing, slay some enemies as well. In the meantime, okay, looks like we got ambushed. That's great. So one thing to pay attention to is your minions, the little green bars above their health. That will give you the indicator as to, if your minions are low on HP. And the nice thing about this build is that using a health potion will immediately restore your minions to max life. I don't think that you will have to worry about it not being increased to max life, because the gear that we have doesn't really use a lot of like minion health sort of a thing. So as you can see, flawless run there. No big deal at all. But I kind of wanted to go over just a little bit of the things to pay attention to. So talking about the gear first and foremost, Apathy's Maw is an amazing item for this build. The reason why is because the forged weapons will end up taking all the stats off of your main hand weapon. So you want a very good main hand weapon, and this provides you with melee void damage, flat melee void damage, as well as melee damage. So we're talking at like a 214 increased melee damage is what's being done. Not counting the 75% increased minion physical damage. So right off the bat, we're doing a ton of damage, just baseline. And then you also get Doom, 100% chance to apply Doom on hit. And what Doom does is it's a massive void damage over time. It increases melee damage taken by 4% and lasts 4 seconds and can stack up to 4 times. So essentially you're taking another 16% more melee damage, which is pretty nice. And considering that the duration is increased by 50%, you don't necessarily have to worry about the void penetration with Doom. Increased melee damage is great, and the leech rate doesn't really matter too much because we're not really leeching at all. The second item that I would definitely recommend would be Death Rattle. The reason for Death Rattle is because you get a good amount of increased melee damage and increased minion critical strike chance. Plus, you get the minion critical strike multiplier, which is the most massive thing here. Everything else on this item doesn't matter at all. It's just the minion critical strike multiplier and then the 2 implicits that you have there. The next item I would recommend would be Phantom Grip, which is a brand new item to 1.1. This one, obviously, as you can see, everything on the items here, or on the stats here rather, really complements the build pretty nicely. So you get +2 to all minion skills, +2 critical strike chance, +4 minion critical strike chance, which is what we're building around. We need more minion critical strike chance. 5% increased mana for yourself, +5 melee necrotic damage for forged weapons, so that's even more damage on top of the 214 that we discussed earlier. Forged weapon duration, which is awesome, although it doesn't really even matter because we're going to be summoning so many so often that they could stay alive for about 30 seconds, and by the time you get around to that 30-second mark, they would end up dying, or you would just replace them. The most important thing on this ring, though, is going to be the very bottom affix. The stats on your gloves applied to your forged weapons at 86% effectiveness. So going forward, with everything in mind, this item will make or break your Forge Guard Minion builds. Now, the reason why I say that is because the stats on your gloves will have a massive impact on how well your forged weapons do. So, after these 3 items that I recommended, the next item I want to talk about are the gloves. Now, for these gloves, a good thing to get is a pair of gloves with good implicits. The reason for that is because you're going to be using them all the time. So getting like the Crusader gauntlets that have apply your armor to damage over time is a really good option to go with. But if you can't, the next thing you're going to be going for is increased melee attack speed. The whole reason for that is because this ring pulls off of that melee attack speed. So your forged weapons actually end up getting a percentage of the percentage that you get. Now, 86% effectiveness on 29%, I'm guessing is somewhere around 22, 23. So a 23, 22% increased melee attack speed is absolutely massive for all of your forged weapons. The next thing you want to look at is going to be increased critical strike chance. The more critical strike chance we have, the more often that your minions will crit. More often your minions crit, the more damage comes out, etc., etc. You also want to make sure that you have shred armor on hit as well as frailty on hit. That way, enemies are dealing the least amount of damage possible to you while also shredding armor, so you doing more damage to them. So these are the 3 items that I would definitely recommend for this build. The reason is because critical strike multiplier, doom, melee damage, and also +2 to minion skills, stats from your gloves apply to your forged weapons, and then all these base stats just from the gloves themselves. Now, something else to keep in mind is you want to try to get, obviously +9 is a good number to get, but if you can get anything higher than this, your damage will increase even more because your weapons will be critting so much more than a normal build, rather. My weapons are at a 10% critical strike chance, so adding another 6% to this would make it 15% critical strike chance, which would be pretty massive. You know what I mean? Considering that I'm 266 critical strike multiplier, 10% critical strike chance, and then I'm doing about 216 physical melee physical damage. Sorry, let me move this out of here. So I'm doing 216 increased minion physical damage, which is what your minions will be doing. Okay. So other gear to talk about. So with this build, you're going to want to stack flat armor. You need as much armor as possible. I made this mistake late in the build where I was trying to use items that didn't have a good amount of armor, and it really kind of, I suffered a lot for it. So learn from my mistake. Make sure you get something like Leonine Great Helm, which has 550 armor on it, implicit. It's got the reduced bonus damage taken from critical strikes. And then it's an all-around solid item. Make sure you get some attunement on there. We're stacking attunement, as you can see up here. 25, the more you have, the better off you'll be. The next one would be Citadel Boots, are really, really nice. The reason for that is because you get the reduced bonus damage taken from critical strikes implicit. And then with these boots, you can also have this experimental affix. Now, obviously, you can get an exalted version of this. This item that I have, I got extremely lucky with because it had a tier 2 critical strike avoidance, which I didn't really need. So I sealed that one, put on hybrid health, and then just proceeded to level up the hybrid health, essentially. But the whole thing about this minion teleports around you after you use a traversal skill is going to come very handy. The reason for that is because you'll be moving around the map, and your weapons will be following behind you. But if you want to get 6 of your minions immediately attacking one thing, you just use a traversal skill to go right on top of the enemy, and then 6 of your weapons will start attacking it. So it's a very nice way to sort of split your damage between the two forged weapons if you want to, the 2 packs. Okay, so with that being said, the next thing that we should go over is belt slot. So you obviously want 100% chance to cleanse all ailments on potion use, and the reason for this we'll get into a little bit later is in your passives, but you end up giving your minions extra health when you use a potion. That's equivalent to your armor. So we stack as much armor as possible. The reason for that is because we're going to be healing our minions. The next thing you're going to want to go over is you're going to want basically increased health, idols here. I don't have any that are plus health. I only have increased health. Reason for that is because my resists are so low. And we'll get into a little bit more with everything else. So it's very important that you have a 100% chance to cleanse all ailments on potion use. And like I said, we'll get into this a little bit later. So let's go over the skills, discussing why this is such a nice build, why it works so well. So Forge Strike, which is your mastery skill that you get when you switch to Forge Guard, this is going to be the skill that will empower all of your minions. Now, obviously, you can, cap this out here if you'd like to. I personally enjoy the increased area that comes from all of these minions dealing damage. But one of the main things that you're going to want to get is Beneath Solarum. The reason for that is because it's off cooldown, which means you can spam it, which means you can get more forged weapons out, say at the start, or if you're fighting a boss enemy and he's doing a ton of damage to you, this would be a great way of getting a lot of your forged weapons out without actually having to wait for the interval time period. So the next one, obviously mass production is really good. Well-forged weapons increases your number by +4, so instead of 8, you get 12. You want to get Forge Master because it'll summon a great axe, which does more damage, more area of effect, etc. Heavy Strike is really nice. It increases your forged weapon damage by 40%. So anything that increases our forged weapon damage, we're going to be taking. So the next one is going to be Warpath. This is going to be the ability you're literally going to be spamming the entire time. The only reason why you would want to switch out of this is to use something like Volatile Reversal or Void Cleave. The whole point, you want to go down, you want to get 1 point here, 2 points here, 2 points here, 1 point, and then 5 points. So you have 150% increased frequency of summoning while you use Forge Master Stance every 5 seconds, as if you had hit an enemy with Force Strike. So you summon weapons. With this, it summons weapons every 3 seconds. So that's why we are constantly producing forged weapons, constantly producing them so that you don't have to worry about necessarily your forged weapons dying. But the moment you have a lot of the forged weapons, you will need to start paying attention to their health. You can remove this reckless spin out of the entire thing if you don't have enough elemental resistance. I got a little bit lucky because I ended up getting Code of an Erased Sentinel with all resistances while channeling, which helps my build a ton. But it's not necessary to have that. Some people might even opt out against that and then put it into Iron Reach or something like that. So it's completely up to you. Whatever you want to decide, however you feel like playing. If you like the increased, if you like the reduced mana costs, where it doesn't cost you anything, it just costs you to start the channel. You can definitely take this one here, but just do be warned that if you don't take this, the mana regeneration will be slower. So keep that in mind. All right, the next one we're going to go over is going to be the traversal skill. This is our skill that we're going to be using to traverse around the map. It also teleports our minions with us when we land. A big reason for this is going to be Sun Shroud, which makes us immune while moving with healing hands. This has come to save me countless times when I'm fighting a boss and I'm fighting an enemy and I have to swing around, go to the other side of the map, and bring some of my minions with me. This makes it so that I can get there and know that I'm actually going to arrive there without actually taking damage, taking fatal damage, different things like that. So, doesn't matter. I'd recommend getting 2 points in here because we will have other melee attacks such as Forge Strike and also Void Cleave. But you definitely want to get Purity of Thought. You definitely want to get Blessed Pariah. You definitely want to get Prayer of the Fallen and Vow of Restoration. The reason for these is because they will heal you. There's not so much good sustain with this build unless you can get some kind of leech on your gear or a leech blessing or something like that. I wouldn't recommend it, getting a leech blessing or leech on your gear. I would just use this entirely. So, obviously, Halted Scourge, Turn Undead makes it so that we do more damage against Void enemies and Undead enemies. And it's pretty self-explanatory when it comes to it. The duration for the cooldown is going to be 6 seconds for your healing hand. So, do keep that in mind. You can't spam it over and over. All right, next one we're going to be going over is going to be Volatile Reversal. The reason for Volatile Reversal entirely is going to be 30% increased damage taken. Now, if you don't enjoy playing with Volatile Reversal or you don't understand how it is, it reverts you back 2 seconds. Now, if you're kind of weird playing this game or playing the spec and you don't understand how this works, you can definitely opt in to get Sigils of Hope. And I would do 5 points here, 2 points here, 1 point there, 5 points here, 5 points there, 1 point there, and then 3 points here. And that should give you enough to get by. The only thing I don't like about Sigils of Hope is that the mana cost is immense, and you will run out of mana if you're trying to keep it up as 100% uptime with 4 sigils. So do keep that in mind going forward when you're creating this. If you don't enjoy Volatile Reversal, it costs no mana to use it, which is very nice. You can go into Sigils of Hope and get an extra 100% damage more done when you're nearby. All right, the last skill we're going to be going over is going to be Void Cleave. Void Cleave is also used sometimes as a traversal skill, but this time around I didn't want to do that. The reason for that was because you can get this node down here called Riftmaker. Riftmaker, what it does is it applies critical vulnerability, which is essentially 2% more chance to be crit, and reduces critical strike avoidance, which isn't that big of a deal because a lot of enemies don't have critical strike avoidance. But the great thing about this is that if you use it and you're on top of your minions, you're also going to give them Molten Infusion. Molten Infusion, what it does is it gives your minions plus 15 fire damage and a plus 30% chance to ignite, which ends up being 150% chance to ignite because we get 150% more damage with this. And that's also 150% more damage with the fire damage with buff. So basically, you're going to be using Healing Hands to traversal to your area. You'll summon mobs there. You'll summon your forged weapons where you're at. You'll Void Cleave to get your weapons, the Molten Blades, and to stack critical vulnerability. And then you can Volatile Reversal backwards to give them 30% more damage on their attacks. And this ends up making your forged weapons just hang out where they're at and deal a ton of damage. So a couple of things I do want to go over with the passives. Forge Guard, it's a very run-of-the-mill kind of a build here. We're stacking Attunement. We're getting Hammer and Anvil. This is the one here that makes it so that you heal your minions for an amount equal to your armor when you use a potion. Now, this also increases your chance to find potions on potion use. So you use a potion, you're running around, you kill enemies, and another potion will drop. So you don't have to worry about running out of potions. But do be aware that if you're fighting a boss or a timeline boss or something like that, they won't drop potions as often. So do be aware that your potion use should be used sparingly. At least when you see your minions' health dropping or something like that, for example, that would be a reason why you would want to do this. This also gives you more armor, 100% more armor. And I have seen my armor at times go up to like 12k, which is insane. It's like, 68% damage reduction, which is pretty massive. Now, obviously, as you can see, I'm level 93 down here. And what I would put the remaining points into, it'd be 4 points here to make it 97. I would do 2 points here to get more health. Or you can go to Paladin and do points into Valor until you feel satisfied. So that's pretty much the build, though. I just wanted to get this out here. I've been running this build all weekend, or all week, rather. Finally got myself to 300 corruption. And I'm able to stay alive and do bosses. So obviously this can do what it's supposed to do, and I just wanted to kind of showcase this build because Forge Guard is no longer a meme anymore, and it's really nice to see that. So let me know what you guys think. Please make sure you like and comment on the video. I will respond to all comments. I have a lot of time on my hands now, so just wanted to let you guys know to do that. And if you think if you think I earned a subscription, please slap that subscribe button for me. Really helps out the channel, gets me more notice on YouTube and a lot of my videos, and that makes my absolute day. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video.